Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Sya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunnitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swaryam Bhutakada Mahyam Dadati Swakadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadhanitam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lamita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurandi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhani Sudhadevi Pranamani Hidekone Kripa Sindhuya Eva Chapatitanam Tavanivya Vaishnavya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Vidgadadha Shiva Sadikom Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Ham karoti vācālam pangum langayate girim Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistayitaneshmat Prabhupada Priya Shri Girirajaya Swami Subhaktararas Bihari Bhimukti Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistayitaneshmat Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gamalali Pachali Nirvishesha Shunyavali Pachakya. So we continue our reading. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila. Chapter 10. Title is The Branches of the Chaitanya Tree. So let's remember one thing, that in the Guru Parampara, this is what is being discussed here. So the source of the Guru Parampara, let's forget about Krishna. And let's start with Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if we want to know how to practice Krishna consciousness, then we must study Chaitanya Charitamrita. And we accept Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the original tree. Remember, he's the gardener, he's the seed, he's the tree. So everybody else is helping Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in distributing this knowledge. But people of different capacities. So here, whoever's in this recorded here, these are absolutely, you could say, successful acharyas who has fulfilled the mission properly. So that's how their names are listed here. But in between, there are many, many, many. So remember that we are on Adi Lila. We are just the beginning of the pastime of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So much chapters have gone in describing who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Nitai, who are the Panch Tattva, what's their mission, etc., etc. And now we've come to chapter 10, which is discussing about the Guru Parampara. And this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Guru Parampara. Then I'm checking the next one. So these are all about it. Okay. Then Nitai, then we'll find Gadadhar and Advaita Acharya. So their disciplic succession, the next few chapters are going to discuss. So therefore, don't think that these are just list of names, we should appreciate how the knowledge is not lost. So after all this, then will come the actual description of how bhakti is practiced. And this is for the individual, every individual to take on. And, like we read in Bhagavatam, described that the guru, he is like, he's the pilot, is it? The pilot, he's the trainer. The guru is the trainer, right? And showing us how to fly our planes. So instructions is given on the ground, and then finally the captain will not be there anymore, and then you have to fly your own plane. So that was discussed in relationship to Draupadi. So the Pandava just left her behind. They said, okay, time is up, we have to go, we retire. And Draupadi seeing, all the Pandavas moving ahead, they just left her behind. So she decided, I'm also going. And Prabhupada said, everybody has to fly their own plane. So we are being taught the philosophy here. We are being taught the lines. See, flying the plane doesn't mean that you just take off and you don't know where you're going. The plane, meaning the trajectory, is being traced here in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Very precise path. So therefore, when we are reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have to go again and again in our daily life. We should practice and we should read all these Shastra, our roadmap, basically. It's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavatam, and Bhagavad Gita. These are our roadmap, but most so Chaitanya Charitamrita. Bhagavatam is giving the philosophy. Bhagavad Gita is summary of all the philosophy. And Chaitanya Charitamrita is the practical application of the philosophy. So at the end of the day, we'll find ourselves alone to take the decision of how you want to live your life. But the roadmap is given by your own guru and by the Guru Parampara. So whether they are not there or they are not there, the book is there. All right. So therefore, do pay attention. Don't think we are just reading casually. So we continue along the branches of the Sri Chaitanya tree. So text 121. Gora deshe bhaktera kaila shangshepa pathanam ananta chaitanya bhaktanaya ganana. I have given a brief description of the devotees of Lord Chaitanya in Bengal. Actually, his devotees are innumerable. Nilachale Sabha Bhakta Prabhu Sange Duisthane Prabhu Seva Kailana Narange. I have specially mentioned all these devotees because they accompanied Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Bengal and Orissa and served him in many ways. Most of the devotees of Lord Chaitanya lived in Bengal and Orissa. Thus, they are celebrated as Gaudiyas and Oriyas. At present, however, by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his cult is being propagated all over the world. And it is most probable that in the future history of Lord Chaitanya's movement, Europeans, Americans, Canadians, Australians, South Americans, Asians, and people from all over the world will be celebrated as devotees of Lord Chaitanya. All right? Gaur Bhakta. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has already constructed a big temple at Mayapur, Navadvip, which is being visited by devotees from all parts of the world, as foretold by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and anticipated by Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur, 123. Kevala Nilachale Prabhura Eye Bhaktagana Sankshepe Kariya Kichu Se Sabha Prathana. Let me briefly describe some of the devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. Okay, so now Okay, so far that list was from Bengal. Because Mahaprabhu was in Bengal. Then after his sannyas, after his sannyas, he went to Jagannath Puri. All right, so Shinya, you want to read? We're in text 124. Yeah, you're muted. You're muted. Shinya, you're muted.
Sorry, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Nilachali Prabhu Sange Yata Bhakta Gana Sabara Adyaksa Prabhura Marmadui Jana Paramananda Puri Ara Swarupa Damadara Gadadhara Jagadananda Shankara Vakreshwara Damadara Pandita Takura Haridasa Raghunatha Vaidya Ara Raghunatha Dasa. Among the devotees who accompanied the Lord in Jagannath Puri, two of them, Paramananda Puri and Swarupa Damodar, were the heart and soul of the Lord. Among the other devotees were Gadadhara, Jagadananda, Shankara, Vakreshwara, Damodara Pandita, Thakur Karidas, Raghunath Vaidya, and Raghunath Das. The Chaitanya Bhagavata, Antya Kanda, chapter 5, states that Raghunath Vaidya came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when the Lord was staying at Panihati. He was a great devotee and had all good qualities. According to the Chaitanya Bhagavata, he was formerly Revati, the wife of Balaram. Anyone he glanced upon would immediately attain Krishna consciousness. He lived on the seashore at Jagannath Puri and compiled the book of the name Sthana Nirupana. Shall I continue?
Yes.
Thank you. Ityadika Purva Sangi Bada Bhakta Ganam Nilachale Rahikare Prabhura Sevanam. All these devotees were associates of the Lord from the very beginning. When the Lord took up residence in Jagannath Puri, they remained there to serve him faithfully. Arayata Bhaktagana Gauda Desha Vasi Pratyapte Prabhure Dekhe Nilachale Asi. All the devotees who resided in Bengal used to visit Jagannath Puri every year to see the Lord. Nilachale Prabhu Saha Prataman Milana Sei Bhakta Ganara Ebi Karye Ganana. Now let me enumerate the devotees of Bengal who first came to see the Lord at Jagannath Puri. Badashaka Eka Sarvabhoma Bhattacharya Tanra Bhaknipati Shri Gopinathacharya. There was Sarvabhuma Bhattacharya, one of the biggest branches of the tree of the Lord, and his sister's husband, Sri Gopinathacharya. The original name of Sarvabhuma Bhattacharya was Vasudev Bhattacharya. His place of birth, which is known as Vidyangara, is about 2.5 miles away from the Navadvip railway station, or Chanpahati railway station. His father was a very much celebrated man of the name Maheshwara Visharada. It is said that Sarvabhuma Bhattacharya was the greatest logician of his time in India. At Mithila in Bihar, he became a student of great professor named Paksadhara Mishra, who did not allow any student to note down his explanations of logic. Sarvabhuma Bhattacharya was so talented, however, that he learned the explanations by heart, and when he later returned to Navadvip, he established a school for the study of logic, thus diminishing the importance of Mithila. Students from various parts of India still come to Navadvip to study logic. According to some authoritative opinions, the celebrated logician Raghunath Shiromani was also a student of Sarvabhuma Bhattacharya. In effect, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya became the leader of all students of logic. Although he was a grihastha householder, he even taught many sannyasis in the knowledge of logic. He started a school at Jagannath Puri for the study of Vedanta philosophy, of which he was a great scholar. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he advised the Lord to learn Vedanta philosophy from him, but later he became a student of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to understand the real meaning of Vedanta. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was so fortunate as to see the six-armed form of Lord Chaitanya known as Sadbhuja. A Sadbhuja deity is still situated at one end of the Jagannath temple. Daily Sankirtana performances take place in this part of the temple. The meeting of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is vividly described in Madhya Lila, chapter 6. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wrote a book of 100 verses named Chaitanya Shataka or Sushloka Shataka. Two other verses he wrote, beginning with the words Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga and Kalanashtam Bhakti Yogam Nijam Yaha are very famous among Gaudiya Vaishnavas. The Gora Ganadesha Deepika 119 states that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was an incarnation of Brihaspati, the learned scholar from the celestial planets. Gopinathacharya, who belonged to a respectable Brahmana family, was also an inhabitant of Navadvip and a constant companion of the Lord. He was the husband of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's sister. In the Gora Ganadesha Deepika 178, it is described that he was formerly the gopi named Ratnavali. According to the opinion of others, he was an incarnation of Brahma.
So this is very interesting. Huh? So this is about original name of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Huh? So one of the biggest branches of the tree of the Lord and his sister's husband, Shri Gopinath Acharya. Sorry. So these two, Sarvabhauma Acharya and Gopinath Acharya. So originally, so we can make a note of this. Where's my pen? Yeah, so original name of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was Vasudev Bhattacharya. So he was in Vidyanagar. So very, very important. And there was going to be a huge discussion between Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we saw how his history is given here. Prabhupada is giving his history. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, see how it is. Everybody needs a teacher. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is so famous, one of the biggest branch of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's tree, but he also had to study under somebody. And just like I was reading this history of Ramanujacharya. So Srila Ramanujacharya, he had to write a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So how did he write it? He went back to I don't know how many thousands of years before, when some Acharya had written a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Then he wrote a commentary. So this is very, very important. So whoever we may be, doesn't matter who we are, everybody must be under some teacher. Learn the philosophy under some teacher. And now, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's teacher, professor, great professor, okay? Great professor, Pakshadhar Mishra. He didn't allow anybody to take notes. All right, he was such a teacher. You sit in my class, you listen, and you understand. Only the top, the elites of scholars. This one Sanskrit professor, you know. So he was saying that when he put out his advertisement, okay, so he will start teaching, he's taking the batch. So he will have, I don't know how many hundreds and thousands of, application. And then he will allow in his class only 15 students. All right? He will select only 15 students. So he said that these 15 boys, they would sit for 3 to 5 hours, sit still without blinking their eyelid, and they will listen, 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 listen. And that's how they learn. So meaning that when we speak of Brahminical class, this is what we're talking about. Is the caliber of the intelligence. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was so talented. So he was not allowed to note down any explanation of his logic. But what he did, he memorized. And Ramanujacharya also, yes, he had a disciple. So when he wanted to get that original book from which he wanted to write his commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So anyway, there was a lot of politics going on, so he wasn't allowed to get the book. So what happened was his student, Quresh, read the book. He spent, I think, 1 month or so, he read the book, and the same thing, he memorized the entire book. And then he gave it to Sri Ramanujacharya, and then he wrote his commentary, I think Sri Bhasya on Vedanta Sutra. So anyway, we are dealing with something. Shina, you can just mute for a few minutes. You can mute. Yeah. So, yeah, so, we are not dealing with small people here. We are dealing with extraordinary, super extraordinary people. And I keep saying it also about, the disciples. Prabhupada himself, his disciples. Prabhupada gave for 10 years, but for 50 years, his disciples continued to spread. So this is not an ordinary thing at all. So they are very special people. So he was so learned that now he learned from Mithila. Mithila is in Bihar. All right, so Bihar was the seat of knowledge. Mithila. But when he went back to Bengal in Navadvip, he started his own school. All right, that's the idea. We teach, the students, and we hope that some student will open their own schools, right? So he opened his own school, but then what happened? He became more famous than Mithila. So all the students started coming to Navadvip to learn, and on top of it, he was a grihastha. On top of it, he was a grihastha. But the sannyasis were coming to learn from him. So we can understand from this. That's not a question of ashram. It's a question of whether you learn. Just like just now we were in Vrindavan, So Gurujan Prabhu, he is a grihastha. He has been teaching since so many years. And you'll find all the sannyasis sitting in his class and learning from him. My Guru Maharaj also was sitting in his class. And he was learning, right? They become students. So this has been going on all the time. So it's not that only sannyasis are the teachers. No. So here, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, but Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya couldn't teach him. He was a very, he was welcome, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, let me teach him. But no, he got taught. He got taught. So now about Gopinath Acharya. So he belonged to, so see, all these names will come later. So many pastime will happen. So Gopinath Acharya, who belonged to a respectable Brahmana family. Oh, okay. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said he was, so Gora Gonadosh, Deepika said he's Brihaspati. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Brihaspati. Okay, so now Gopinath Acharya. So was also an inhabitant of Navadvip and a constant companion of the Lord. He was the husband of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's sister. So he is known as Ratnavali. And sometimes he's referred to as incarnation of Brahma. So you got Brahma and Brihaspati both there. All right, Devahuti, you want to read? 131. Okay, Indira Radha, you can read? Yeah, 131.
Hare Krishna. Kashi Mishra Padumna Mishra Raya Bhavananda Yanahara Milane Prabhu Pela Ananda. In the list of devotees at Jagannath Puri, which begins with Paramananda Puri, Swarup Damodar, Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, and Gopinath Acharya. Kashi Mishra was the fifth, Pradumya Mishra the sixth, and Bhavananda Rai the seventh. Lord Chaitanya took great pleasure in meeting with them. In Jagannath Puri, Lord Chaitanya lived at the house of Kashi Mishra, who was the priest of the king. Later, this house was inherited by Vakreshwara Pandit, and then by his disciple Gopala Guru Goswami, who established a deity of Radha Kanta there. The Gaura Ganodesha Dipika 193 states that Kashi Mishra was formerly Kubja in Mathura. Pradumya Mishra, an inhabitant of Orissa, was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Pradumya Mishra was born of a Brahman family and Ramananda Rai of a non-Brahman family. Yet, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised Pradumya Mishra to take instruction from Ramananda Rai. This incident is described in the Antya Lila, chapter 5. Bhavananda Rai was the father of Sri Ramananda Rai. His residence was in Alanat, Brahmagiri, which is about 12 miles west of Jagannath Puri. By caste, he belonged to the Karana community of Orissa, whose members were sometimes known as Kayasthas and sometimes as Shudras, but he was the governor of Madras under the control of King Prataparudra of Jagannath Puri. Shall I go on? Text 132. Alingana kari tanre balila vachana tumi pandu pancha pandava tumara nandana. Embracing Rai Bhavananda, the Lord declared to him, "You formerly appeared as Pandu, and your 5 sons appeared as the 5 Pandavas." Text 133. Ramananda Raya Pattanayak Gopinatha Kalanidhi Sudhanidhi Nayaka Vaninatha. The 5 sons of Bhavananda Rai were Ramananda Rai, Patanayaka Gopinath, Kalanidhi, Sudhanidhi, and Nayak Vaninath. Text 134. Ei Panchaputra Tomara Mora Priya Patra Ramananda Saha Mora Deha Bheda Matra. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Bhavananda Rai, "Your 5 sons are all my dear devotees. Ramananda Rai and I are one, although our bodies are different." Purport. The Gaura Ganodesha Dipika 120 to 124 states that Ramananda Rai was formerly Arjun. Rai. He is also considered to have been an incarnation of the gopi Lalita, although in the opinion of others, he was an incarnation of Visakha Devi. He was a most confidential devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, although I am a sannyasi, my mind is sometimes perturbed when I see a woman. But Ramananda Rai is greater than me, for he is always undisturbed, even when he touches a woman. Only Ramananda Rai was endowed with the prerogative to touch a woman in this way. No one should imitate him. Unfortunately, there are rascals who imitate the activities of Ramananda Rai. We need not discuss them further. In Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's final pastime, Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar always engage in reciting suitable verses from Srimad Bhagavatam and other books to pacify the Lord's ecstatic feelings of separation from Krishna. When Lord Chaitanya went to southern India, Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya advised him to meet Ramananda Rai, declaring that there was no devotee as advanced in understanding the conjugal love of Krishna and the gopis. While touring South India, Lord Chaitanya met Ramananda Rai by the bank of the Godavari, and in their long discourses, the Lord took the position of a student, and Ramananda Rai instructed him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu concluded these discourses by saying, my dear Ramananda Rai, both you and I are madmen, and therefore we met intimately on an equal level. Lord Chaitanya advised Ramananda Rai to resign from his government post and come back to Jagannath Puri to live with him. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu refused to see Maharaj Prataparudra because he was a king, Ramananda Rai, by a Vaishnava scheme, arranged a meeting between the Lord and the king. This is described in the Madhya Lila, chapter 12, verses 41 to 57. Sri Ramananda Rai was present during the water sport of the Lord of the Rath Yatra festival. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu considered Sri Ramananda Rai and Sri Sanatana Goswami to be equal in their renunciation. For although Sri Ramananda Rai was a grihastha engaged in government service, and Sri Sanatana Goswami was in the renounced order of complete detachment from material activity, they were both servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who kept Krishna in the center of all their activities. Sri Ramananda Rai was one of the 3.5 personalities with whom Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discussed the most confidential topics of Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised Pradumna Mishra to learn the science of Krishna from Sri Ramananda Rai, as Subal always assisted Krishna in his dealings with Radharani and Krishna lila. So Ramananda Rai assisted Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his feelings of separation from Krishna. Sri Ramananda Rai was the author of Jagannath Vallabha Nataka.
Yes, so
What is this one of the 3.5? Let's
you will discover the mystery later on.
okay.
All right. Yes, so Ramana Rai is very famous, and we will gradually it will be unfold. Okay. All right. So Divahuti, you're ready now?
Hare Krishna. Text 135, 136. Pratap Rudra Raja आरो औद्रा कृष्णानंद, परमानंद महापात्र, औद्रा शिव आनंद, भगवान आचार्य, ब्रह्मानंद ब्रह्मा आनंद दाक्य भारती, श्री सिखी माहिती, R. Murari Mahiti. Translation: King Prataprudra of Orissa, the Oriya devotees Krishnananda and Shiv Ananda and Paramananda Mahapatra, Bhagwan Acharya, Brahmananda Bharati, Sri Sikhi Mahiti and Murari Mahiti constantly associated with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu while he resided in Jagannath Puri. Purport: Prataprudra Maharaj, who belonged to the dynasty of Ganga kings, whose capital was in Cuttack, was the emperor of Orissa and a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was by the arrangement of Ramananda Rai and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that he was able to personally serve Lord Chaitanya. In the Gaur Ganodesha Deepika 118, it is said that King Indradyumna, who established the temple of Jagannath thousands of years ago, later took birth again in his own family as Maharaj Pratap Rudra during the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Maharaj Pratap Rudra was as powerful as King Indra. The drama named Chaitanya Chandrodaya was written under his direction. In the Chaitanya Bhagavata, Antakand, chapter 5, Paramananda Mahapatra is described as follows. Paramananda Mahapatra was among the devotees who took birth in Orissa and accepted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as their only asset. In the ecstasy of conjugal love, he always thought of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhagavan Acharya, a very learned scholar, was formerly an inhabitant of Hali Sahara, but he left everything to live with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. His relationship with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was friendly, like that of a cowherd boy. He was always friendly to Swarupa Goswami, but he was staunchly devoted to the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He sometimes invited Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his house. Bhagwan Acharya was very liberal and simple. His father, Sat Ananda Khan, was completely materialistic, and his younger brother, Gopal Bhattacharya, was a staunch Mayavadi philosopher who had studied very elaborate. When his brother came to Jagannath Puri, Bhagwan Acharya wanted to hear from him about Mayavad philosophy, but Swarup Damodar forbade him to do so, and there the matter stopped. Once a friend of Bhagwan Acharya from Bengal wanted to recite a drama that he had written that was against the principle of devotional service. And although Bhagwan Acharya wanted to recite this drama before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Swarup Damodar, the Lord's secretary, did not allow him to do so. Later, Swarup Damodar pointed out the drama's many mistakes and its disagreements with the conclusion of devotional service. And the author became aware of the faults in his writing and then surrendered to Swarup Damodar, begging his mercy. This is described in the Anta Lila, chapter 5, verses 91 to 158. In the Gaura Ganodesh Deepika 189, it is said that Shikhi Mahiti was formerly an assistant of Srimati Radharani named Ragalekha. His sister Madhavi was also an assistant of Srimati Radharani and was named Kalakeli. Shiki Mahiti, Madhavi, and their brother Murari Mahiti were all unalloyed devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who could not forget him for a moment of their lives. There is a book in the Oriya language called Chaitanya Charita Mahakavya, in which there are many narrations about Shiki Mahiti. One narration concerns his seeing an ecstatic dream. Shiki Mahiti was always engaged in serving the Lord in his mind. One night, while he was rendering such service, he fell asleep. And while he was asleep, his brother and sisters came to awaken him. At that time, he was in full ecstasy because he was having a wonderful dream that Lord Chaitanya, while visiting the temple of Jagannath, was entering and again coming out of the body of Jagannath and looking at the Jagannath deity. Thus, as soon as he awakened, he embraced his brother and sister and informed them, "My dear brother and sister, I have had a wonderful dream, and I shall now explain to you. The activities of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Mother Sachi, are certainly most wonderful. I saw that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, while visiting the temple of Jagannath, was entering the body of Jagannath and again coming out of his body. I am still seeing the same dream. Do you think I have become deranged? I am still seeing the same dream. And the most wonderful thing is that as soon as I come near Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he embraced me with his long arms." As Sikhi Mahiti spoke to his brother and sister in this way, his voice faltered, and there were tears in his eyes. Thus, the brothers and sister went to the temple of Jagannath, and there they saw Lord Chaitanya in the Jagmohan Kirtan Hall. Looking at the beauty of the Sri Jagannath deity, just as in Shiki Mahiti's dream, the Lord was so magnanimous, and he immediately embraced Shiki Mahiti, exclaiming, "You are the elder brother of Murari." Being thus embraced, Shiki Mahiti felt ecstatic transcendental bliss. Thus, he and his brother and sister always engaged in rendering service to the Lord. Murari Mahiti, the younger brother of Chiki Mahiti, is described in the Madhya Lila, chapter 10, verses 44. Text 137.
So here, there's so much description. Shiki Mahiti, so this is a famous name again. Shiki Mahiti was formerly an assistant of Srimati Radharani named Ragalekha. His sister Madhavi was also an assistant of Srimati Radharani, and her was named Kalakeli. Shiki Mahiti, Madhavi, and their brother Murari Mahiti were all unalloyed devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who could not forget him for a moment of their lives. So remember that Krishna, who is coming as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so he's coming his associates. So Shiki Mahiti, so these are all the assistants of Srimati Radharani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, who is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Krishna himself. Krishna himself. Oh, sorry.
Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani.
He is Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So that's why Shiki Mahiti is Radharani's assistant. And Madhavi, Shiki Mahiti and Madhavi, they are all both. So, and then, so they had Murari, who is Murari Mahiti. Shiki Mahiti, Madhavi, and Murari Mahiti.
So Shiki is a man's name.
Yeah. 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 Of course. But they had a sister, that's the 3.5, right? Hmm. All right. So who's reading now? Who wants to read? Have 10 minutes.
I can. Okay.
All right, Amrita Rani.
Uh, yeah. So 10.137. Madhavi Devi Shikhi Mahitira Bhagini Shri Radhara Dasi Madhye Yanara Nam Gani. Madhavi Devi, the 17th of the prominent devotees, was a younger sister of Shikhi Mahiti. She is considered to have formerly been a maid servant of Srimati Radharani. In the Anta Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrit, chapter 2, verses 104 to 106, there is a description of Madhvi Devi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu considered her one of the maid servants of Srimati Radharani. Within this world, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had 3.5 very confidential devotees. The three were Swarup Goswami, Sri Ramananda Rai, and Shikhi Maheti's sister, Madhavi Devi. Being a woman was considered the half. Thus, it is known that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had 3.5 confidential devotees.
That's the mystery about 3.5.
10.138.
Yeah, read.
Ishvara Purira Shishya. Oh, all right, Mataji. 10.138. Ishvara Purira Shishya Brahmachari Kashishvara Shri Govinda Nam Tanara Priya Anuchara. Brahmachari Kashishvara was a disciple of Ishvara Puri, and Shri Govind was another of his dear disciples. Govind was the personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the Gaur Ganodesh Deepika, it is stated that the servants formerly named Bhringara and Bhangura in Vrindavan became Kashishwara and Govinda in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Govinda always engaged in the service of the Lord, even at great risk. 10.139. तानारा सिद्धि काले दोहे तानारा आज्ञा तानारा सिद्धि काले दोहे तानारा आज्ञापान नीलाचले प्रभु स्थाने मिलीला आशिया. In the list of prominent devotees at Nilachal, Jagannath Puri, Kashishwara was the 18th and Govinda the 19th. They both came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri, being thus ordered by Ishwarapuri at the time of his passing away.
So,
10.140. Guru Rasa.
1 minute. 1 minute. So let's count. So let's go back and count. So we stop at so they were the devotees of
Ishwarapuri.
1 minute. I'm speaking of Bengal, right? Bengal. So 49, 50, 15, 50, 15, 78, 28. Okay, it came to 89, 90. All right, so 90 branches were in Bengal. And then Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is telling us about Jagannath Puri. So the devotees in Jagannath Puri. So this is Madhavi Devi was 17. Then 18 was Kashishwar. 19 is Govinda. So in the list of prominent devotees of Nilachal, Jagannath Puri, Kashishwar were the 18th and Govinda the 19th. You remember who's Govinda? Who's Govinda?
He was the servant of Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah, and actually, who was he, Govinda?
Bringara and Bangura in Vrinda. They were, it is state servants commonly named Bringara and Bangura.
Okay, let's continue to read, and you will know who he is. Okay, yeah, Govinda, so Bringara and
Bangura.
Just continue to read, just continue, because it's concluded. Govinda always engaged in the service of the Lord, even at great risk. It's very, very interesting. Yeah, continue to read Amrita Radhe.
Uh, 10.140. ગુરુરા સંબંધે માન્ય કોઈલા દુન્હાકારે તાનારા આજ્ઞામાની સેવા દિલેના દુહારે. Both Kashishwara and Govinda were god brothers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and thus the Lord duly honored them as soon as they arrived. But because Ishwarapuri had ordered them to give Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personal service, the Lord accepted their service.
Right, who are they? Kashishwar and Govinda?
God brothers.
Yeah, they were they were god brothers. Yes. Continue.
Okay. 10.141. Angaseva Govindere Dilena Ishvara. Jagannath dekhite chalena age Kashishwara. Govinda cared for the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whereas Kashishwara went in front of the Lord when he went to see Jagannath in the temple.
Okay, your baby's crying.
10.14. Yes, Mataji. 10.142. Aparasha yaya gosai manushya gahane manushya theli patha kare kashi balavane. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the temple of Jagannath, Kashishwara, being very strong, cleared the crowds aside with his hands so that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could pass untouched.
Yes, so now the point
Ramayanandai.
Wait, we conclude here now. We'll finish here. So this is now Kashishwar and Govinda. So they were god brothers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And usually we don't accept service from god brothers, but they're equal, right? We don't accept the service. But what has happened here?
Under the instructions of Ishwara Puri, they became personal servants of Lord Chaitanya.
Yes, so the Guru gave an instruction to these two god brothers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that you should serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That usually a disciple will serve the spiritual master, right? But now they were god brothers. So just see how humble, this is the humility. Mahaprabhu, so the Guru Ishwara Puri said, you must serve. He ordered them to give. So here, we read it again. Both Kashishwar and Govinda were god brothers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and thus the Lord duly honored them as soon as they arrived. So you don't take service from your god brothers, god sisters, they're equal. But because Ishwara Puri had ordered them to give Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personal service, the Lord accepted their service. So what did Govinda do? Govinda was taking care of the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His bathing, his clothes, his food, his beddings, everything. So his massage, everything. And Kashishwar, he will go, because how will you enter Jagannath Puri? I mean, until we came to India, we never knew what it was all about. We didn't know about the crowd, so now we know. So Mahaprabhu, how will he take darshan? So Kashishwar will just be in front of him and move the crowd. So Kashishwar, being very strong, cleared the crowds aside with his hands so that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could pass untouched. Actually, I remember, this culture is there, but, one time, like I was in Vrindavan, Krishna Balaram Temple, everybody knows how crowded it is. So this service of clearing away, the crowd and all this is done regularly. And I remember, suddenly I felt somebody touching me, and I tell you, I saw a brahmachari, and he was just like pushing me aside, And I'm not used to this, especially for a brahmachari like touching me. So I look and I gave him a look. And what I saw was behind him was one sannyasi, Ved Vyas Maharaj. Ved Vyas Maharaj. So that brahmachari was making way for this Maharaj, and Maharaj chastised him. Because when I turned, so decent, so decent. So there are ways, but here we're speaking about, it's just like crowds and crowds, and you don't know who is who. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a sannyasi, but the crowd doesn't see who's there. So, Kashishwar Maharaj, Kashishwar, was clearing the crowds. So this is a regular practice with his hands. They're just clearing the crowds. But isn't it? We say it everywhere. You have to clear the crowds. But in our temple, they are more like decent in doing it. So abroad, when you read old Chaitanya, you can't think head or tail. Like how Mahaprabhu, he stood on the shoulder. No. One old lady stood on the shoulder of Mahaprabhu. She wanted to take darshan of Jagannath. She cannot see. What is this? Couldn't figure it out until you come. I saw it right there in our own temple in Bengal, in Mayapur. That crowd, I tell you that story, so packed. And then, one lady, what she did, she took a man's head and put it like this. What is she doing? And then when he put his head straight, and she again pushed, and then that man understood. I had to put my head like this. This is how that lady climbed on the shoulder of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The crowd, yeah. So unless you come to India, you never know what goes on here. So even though you may read the book, you can't figure out what they're talking about. All right. Anyway, you have to be very courageous to come with the holy dham. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Karthik.
Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you, Siddhi. Hare Krishna.
We'll meet